Hey everyone, welcome back to Go Kick Me, your favorite crowdfunding news and reviews channel here on YouTube. So today we have another Fraudback Friday, infamous crowdfunding implosions of history. Today we're going to be talking about the Lily camera drone. So this was from 2015, so this intro video came out May 2015, so about 2.5 years ago. And as you can imagine, 2018 and it never came out. So let me just quickly play the video. It's basically like I wouldn't even call this a small drone. This is like nowadays considered kind of a larger, medium size at least, drone. And it had some interesting features. Namely, the main one is, okay, it looks cute, but you could basically throw it up in the air and it would take off. And it was, I guess the emphasis was on following, so it would follow you around and take some cool stuff, and you could do, at the time 1080p 60 was considered really good. And you just have it land on your hand, I guess, somehow. So this particular little demonstration to me is the most crazy. So the guy's on the bridge. Hey, I'm gonna take a video. Woo, let me just drop it off the bridge. So, I mean, there's so much that could have gone wrong there. A, what if it didn't turn on? B, what if it turned on and went straight into one of the pilings of the bridge? Anyway, I would not recommend that, even if I trusted the camera a lot. Okay, having it launched from your hand is one thing. Having you throw it up in the air directly above you is another thing, and then throwing it off a bridge, it seems to me just asking for it. There's no coming back from that one. So we can either, I guess it has different follow modes, so we can follow you from behind, from the front, etc. Had a little controller thing. To me, the other cool thing, besides the sort of launch method, is this. So not only is it waterproof, but it floats, and you can apparently launch it from the water, and I guess have it land on the water too. So yeah, it can actually lead you, follow you, do on the side, etc., etc. It can do it all. Ultra portable, not really. It's kind of big. Watch Grandma try to lift it up and then throw it in the air. She almost drops it. So yeah, you can control it from that little thing. So yeah, that was the Lily, and what happened to it is the question. So it actually, from that video, the video is pretty nice. Did quite well, like amazingly well. Apparently got $34 million in pre-orders. And I should note that they did this through their website, not through Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Because apparently, they didn't feel they needed to, or the hype was so good. I mean, that video, literally, it's at like 12 million views. So they got a lot of eyeballs, they got a lot of attention. And it did quite well. Drone that automatically follows you around taking videos raked in $34 million in pre-orders. And this is by the beginning of 2016. So, so about a year, 2 years ago now, it was the next big thing. $34 million in pre-sales for a drone is, I think, still pretty good. And yeah, so got a lot of attention, and they had working prototypes, as you saw in the video. So what happened? Well, fast forward a year, and now 2017, unable to fund production of its camera drone, Lily will shut down and refund customers. So apparently this thing, in that year they had spent a good deal of money. Supposedly they had raised $15 million from investors on top of the $34 million in pre-sales that they collected. And so, that's a lot of money right there. You're talking $49 million or whatever. So what happened, right? Apparently they were burning through that investment money, and they hadn't touched the pre-order money, and they didn't have enough to get the manufacturing to start. Even though I don't know if they said they had like something like 6,000 pre-orders, so that seems like should be pretty good money. Um, and they were trying to find an additional investor. So the 14 million plus the 1 million seed, and these included Steve Aoki and Joe Montana. Wow, these guys got to be careful where they put their money. Um, so one of the things is, in that year that they were developing things, the industry didn't sit around and wait. So there were other autonomous drones came out, and DJI from over here in China has really taken off. Obviously, especially in 2017, they took off even more. But already by 2016, they were introducing autonomous flight modes into their Mavic, which is their big one, Mavic Pro, etc. And then Hover was another drone that basically already launched. So meanwhile, Lilly's falling further and further behind, but they're sitting on $34 million worth of other people's money. So apparently they gave up. Even though they were supposedly within a couple months of delivery, kept pushing it back, and even the last one where they're supposed to deliver in a couple months, they just said, screw it, we can't get enough investment to do it. And I guess we shouldn't complain because they tried to, apparently they sat on the $34 million and were willing to refund it. So they just offered, say, okay, fine, can't do it, we're going to just refund it. So I would imagine, I've never tried to manufacture something this complicated from a factory, but the price to make 6,000 of them, even if it's $1,000, is like $6 million, right? So they could have just spent a fraction of the money they had to develop all the tooling and whatever, pay for it, and why couldn't they fund it, right? There's clearly they had some profit that they could have used, and then still ran the company while they put the initial money in for the manufacturing, unless the factory wanted like a huge startup cost for tooling or something like that. I don't know, who knows, but I'd be surprised, right, if it couldn't happen. But apparently they wanted extra money. They didn't see a path forward. I think the fact that their product was no longer cutting edge and they didn't have the resources to start making better ones would probably be a good thing too, to scare them away. So there's actually a lot of press about that, the failure, and then also it's sort of back. So this is actually called Lilly Next Gen, and it's not the same company. It's not the same drone. As you can see, this one's like kind of more conventional looking except for the face. So basically what happened was when the company disintegrated, they said they were going to give their money back. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any proof that anyone actually did get their money back, or all of it got back to everybody. There's no documentation I've seen anywhere. But apparently they did sell off some of the parts. So they sold their branding rights and I guess their website and stuff like that to the Mota Group, who I will talk about in a second. And then they also sold all their patents and the prototypes to some liquidator company, whatever that company is. And then they even apparently were in talks with Snapchat, and I guess GoPro thought about buying some of the IP. So I don't know how much these guys paid, but I guess it was more than 250. So some of that money actually, went somewhere. Hopefully it helped get people some refunds or pay employees paychecks or whatever, overdue paychecks. So anyway, so these Moda guys have relaunched, taken the website, taken the YouTube channel. It's actually here on the YouTube channel too. They have the new Lilly Next Gen, which they've just launched, I guess, in that's like October, November of 2017. So only a couple months ago. And so, I guess 5 months ago they were still updating the for the new one. So who's Moda Group that controls the Lily brand now. Well, if you guys watched my video about the what do they call it? Toma smart ring, Tamo smart ring. These are the same guys. I did a thing about them the other day where basically they are, what's the opposite of King Midas? They're the guys who have been behind several, I think, like five or six failed crowdfunding projects over the last couple of years. Let me just bring them up here on. I'll just do this one. Yeah. So the Moda Group. This is your Tamo Smart Ring. You guys remember this one from last week's fraud back? No, what do I call it? Super late Sunday, because I didn't do the video on Friday. So these Moda Group have done 4 projects, and this one looks like it's just a knockoff of someone else's already on the market drone, very similar, and oh, it got suspended. And this was from 2014, and here in 2018, I invoke my rights under my use of service. I want my money back, right? So we have people who are, I'm gonna have to mute this stupid thing. And so, yeah, that's the people who are behind the new Lily. So they have redone the website, and now you can get the Lily Next Gen, and they actually have in the FAQ here somewhere, like, they actually compare it directly against the old one, showing how it's more up to date. That's good. It's a lot smaller, which is not good because you're getting a lot less for your money, I think. And also, it's not 2016 or 2015 anymore. It's now 2018, and the market has moved. So somewhere in here, they're like, where can I get my refund from the original one? And they're like, it has nothing to do with us. Shut up. Where's my refund? Yeah. So apparently they actually did go bankrupt. It's not just that they auctioned, that they sold these things. It's actually they went bankrupt, and there was probably some auction or whatever. Yeah. So the question is, what do you do now? Do you buy a Lily Next Gen from the same people who brought you the smart ring that didn't show up after 4 years? No, go out and buy a DJI Spark or Mavic Pro or whatever. These things, much cheaper, clearly better, clearly much better support. Not trying to pretend to be anything more than it is. Got the gimbal, got swappable batteries. These things are the fact that tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are using them means that it's not going to go out of business overnight. They have support. They update the apps. The apps work with all your new phones. And it comes in multiple colors. So I've used the Spark and a couple of the other China no-name ones. I really like the Spark, actually. I'm not a drone pro, but I would say this thing, especially as a beginner, pretty good. Okay, so anyway, that's the story of the Lily. Great idea in 2015, not so great idea in 2018. The market's moving fast. Drones have really come a long way. I think the biggest lesson is $34 million, and they still couldn't get it. So you have to keep that in mind when you see things like this, where they raised $40,000. Like, no way you can bring a consumer product, high-tech product, to market with only $40,000. That's like nothing, right? There's other campaigns getting $10,000, $100,000, even $100,000, right? So if it's something that's not already, an incremental improvement over something they're already doing, or very simple, anything less than $1 million, you got to be really careful on, I would say. You got to really look at the background of the company. You got to really look at their track record. You got to really look at where they're going to make it, who's going to make it, all these kind of things. Some of the ones I've done recently on this channel, you might remember the Ravine gloves, Ravine gloves, whatever they were. Even though they've only raised a couple $100,000, it's like their 7th crowdfunding thing, and the other ones all came to market. So for them, it's more like collecting pre-orders rather than trying to actually do crowdfunding. Iguana, it's just a freaking pair of slippers. They've already made one. Okay, you don't need $1 million to get it going. But anything that's really high tech, I would be really careful unless they have deep pockets. And then that brings up the question of like, okay, if you've already raised, these guys actually raised $15 million supposedly, and they still couldn't do it. So, if you haven't raised a big chunk of money, then whatever you're going to get from the crowdfunding is not going to be what puts you over the top. At that point, if you have $15 million, do you even need the crowdfunding? I guess in this case, they didn't need Kickstarter, that's for sure, because they didn't use it. But they still couldn't bring it to market. So, and in all these cases, if you put your money in, it's really like you're buying a ticket to maybe nowhere. So careful what you put your money on, because you're basically betting, and there's a big chance it might not come true or ever see the light of day. Okay, so that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed another Fraudback Friday. See you guys next time. Do give us a like and a comment and a subscribe, and check us out on Twitter and Facebook at Go Kick Me, yada, yada, yada. See you next time. Bye.